What's going on YouTube? It is Texans Take over here, back with another video. In today's video, we are doing another 7-round mock draft. But before we begin, I do have some draft notes from Daniel Jeremiah that I do want to point out with y'all, because I know a lot of people, question the idea of Keldrick Falk, who I took in my last mock draft. But Daniel Jeremiah said he thinks that 28 is a clear trade down spot for us. Peter Schrager suggested that it could be an opportunity for a team wanting Ty Simpson, like the Cardinals or the Jets, there at 2 or 3, to move back into the first round to go get their quarterback, get the fifth-year option on him, and see if he pans out or not. And Daniel Jeremiah agreed. They talked about this together. Daniel Jeremiah went on his show on ESPN, but he thinks we're in a position where we read the board, we go best player available, and he said we have one of the most complete rosters in the NFL. So he actually deliberated this pick for a while. He had to pull up the depth charts. He had to do all of that only for us. He's the only team we did that for, just because he said this roster's so complete, and it's so hard to make a selection for us because there's not really a glaring need. He said we have so many pieces on the defensive line that maybe we don't need to go defensive line. He did end up going with TJ Parker there, though, because of how tough he said it was to single out a single position. But he said offensive line could potentially be there if you want your, long-term developmental right tackle to play behind Braden Smith, or your long-term guard to play behind Wyatt Teller. Obviously, we do need a center, but you're not taking that in the first round unless your name's Tyler Linderbaum. So that wasn't really an option at 28, but we are going to begin the mock draft knowing that we have the opportunity to trade down, kind of read the board, like offensive line is falling. Fano's there. Freeling hasn't gone yet, so maybe you do want to get your tackle of the future and trade up to 16 to get Freeling. I think this would be a great pick for the Lions if he falls there. And he hasn't gone yet, and he goes there at 22 to the Chargers. So maybe should have moved up, but Ihanator goes there too. Keldrick Falk is gone, and everyone that you're considering, maybe Omar Cooper could be the idea, but I think at 28, everyone you're considering, Blake Miller, Freeling, Ihanator, um, Falk, have all gone. Maybe Caden Proctor at 28 is an interesting piece, but I think you do move down in this draft, and I think the Cardinals would be the team to do it. I think it'll be something like this, and then, something like this for next year. So we'll just force it there and hope that they do go with Ty Simpson. They don't. And here at 34, you do have Peter Woods available to you. You do have Caden McDonald available to you. Um, and I do think a lot of defensive linemen will end up reaching the second round. So, trading down and getting your interior defensive lineman, I think could certainly be an option. And here at 34, I am going to go with the top one on the board. I haven't gone with Caden McDonald in a while. I just think he's a one tech instead of a three tech, but um, maybe you just try that out there in Houston, try to get that run stuffer there. So we're going to take the D tackle out of Ohio State at pick number 34. And then here at pick number 38, I think you look to the offensive line. Obviously, Pregnon's not available, which kind of sucks. Someone that I would like the Texans to draft. Does have a top 30 visit with us, but I think that means you could trade down, try to get Basantis at 46. So, maybe the Dolphins at 43 want to give you a fourth or third next year, and you try to do that. And that's exactly what happens. So you move down, but you get capital for next year. And Lomu's still there, who can move inside to guard if you want him to. Um, but I think I am going to go with Chase Santis here. I'm not certain though. I could be convinced otherwise. I don't think anyone besides obviously Peter Woods would be the selection there at 38, but we already went with Caden McDonald, so I don't want two interior defensive linemen unless you want to build the best defensive line ever. Here at 43, though, I think I did talk myself into it. I am going to just go with Caleb Lomu over Chase Basantis. This is a guy that you can play at guard in case of injury, but you can also play him at right tackle in case of injury. So we're going to go with him there at 43. I think it is a good selection. And then we pick again at 59 here. Ty Simpson's still available, so maybe when someone wants to trade, like the Browns, for um, Ty Simpson or the Steelers at 76, and you can get like 76 and 85 or 99 maybe. And then like a fourth or 2/5 next year, um, something like that for the Steelers to move up again. You're trading around the board a lot, but there's nothing really enticing here. I like the idea of Derek Moore. I like the idea of Joshua Josephs. I like the idea of Josiah Trotter. I like Grayson Holton, but we did go with interior defensive line already. I like Antonio Williams a lot. I like Mike Washington Jr., excuse me, but I think that can be condoned with the trade down. And I think the Steelers at 76 do make a lot of sense. So we're going to try to do this here. pick up some picks for next year. That should be a point of emphasis throughout this draft. And they do go with Mr. Ty Simpson there, Joshua Josephs, Derek Moore, Josiah Trotter all go there, which is fine in my opinion. I don't think it's the end of the world because here at 65, I think you can go with you know your choice of what you want. I like Antonio Williams a lot. I think we could look at a slot receiver. I like Zachariah Branch a lot, and I think another slot receiver there. We do have pick 76, so hopefully Lou doesn't go then, because that's the center I would like most. Maybe we get him at 69 though. And here at 65, we are going to go with um, our excuse me. We're going to go with our home run hitting running back here with Mike Washington Jr. And then at 69, we are going to just play it safe and go with Mr. Connor Liu there um, to be our or compete at least at the center position in hopes to become our starting center. And then we are going to use a lot of the extra draft capital that we did get to try to move up to like 83. Um, maybe try to do something like that. Which I think is a good range to select at, which is what we are able to do. So here at 76, I think I want to go. We've gone 3 offense in a row, so maybe you do want to look defense. Maybe you want Romello Height as a backup edge rusher, which I think would be nice. And I don't think he's getting enough hype for how good he is, but obviously that age is certainly a concern. Um, but a really good player with a really good pass rush range. But I do like the idea of Anthony Hill down the board here. I like the idea of getting Sam Roush. But I think Anthony Hill is certainly a fun one. Um, and I think I'm talking myself into Anthony Hill here at 76. I think he could go a lot higher than this. I don't know how NFL teams view him, but I really like him as a prospect. And I think he is someone that D'Amico Ryans would love to replace Henry To'oTo'o potentially. Um, and then here at 83, I mean, Antonio Williams is still here. It's hard to say no to that, but I think you do have to go with your tight end two here. Sam Roush is available, so I think that is going to be my selection here at 83. Everything in me wants to go Antonio Williams here, and he's the best player available by a considerable margin. But uh, I don't know how much of a need receiver is. I think it's a need. Some people don't, but I do think Sam Roush, considering Max Claire's not available, and then all the other tight ends are kind of a drop off considered or compared to Sam Roush. I think I am going to go with the tight end out of Stanford here at pick 83, and then at 106 go with our edge rusher Kieran Crawford goes there, who I really like as a fit for Houston. Same with Jay Barham. I really like his game too, obviously, as a Michigan fan. Just won the national championship in basketball, so I was ecstatic. I was yelling at my TV that whole game. Um, but here at 106, we really don't have anything we want here. Maybe Billy Strouth, maybe Bud Clark, maybe Chris McClellan, maybe Jalen Kilgore. But, I think if you're looking for edge at 106, you're waiting a little bit. I think you're waiting for Max Llewellyn. I think you're waiting for, Nadame Tucker, Caden Curry potentially. Mason Rieger's been a late riser. I think he's a really good player, though. But I like Max Llewellyn's game a lot just as a DPR guy. Nadame Tucker, good player too. Really good production in college. Just the age is a concern. I believe he's almost 26. Quintavious Hutchins, good size for an edge rusher, but also just older. Um, it's all these guys are going to be a little bit older. Tyreek Sapp old as well. So I think you are in a position where you trade down. I don't know about moving down again with the Steelers, but maybe the Raiders at 117, who do have a lot of capital. You can do something like this to pick up a pick right there in that range. So we'll try this. 74% chance of going through, and it does go through. So we move down to 117. And at 117, Garrett Nussmeier is available, which is interesting. I wonder what team who needs a quarterback will end up going with him. We can't really look at other teams' boards. Very consistent color scheme, though. We've gone orange, orange, or red. So maybe we continue that and go with Brennan Thompson or Jalen Kilgore, which I think is a fun one. And you know what? Jalen Kilgore might actually be the best option here. I really like the player that he is. I think he could play safety. I think he could play corner. Incredible athlete, young, and I think he could be, potential starting defender in the NFL. Maybe not for the Texans, but you know, really good rotational piece who's going to play special teams for you, who's going to be your backup nickel, be your backup corner, be your backup safety, basically your Miles Bryant replacement, but raising the floor from Miles Bryant and also raising that ceiling exponentially. So Jalen Kilgore, a little bit of a reach here by 11 picks, but I think it does make a lot of sense to go with him as we wait for our next pick. And I'm hoping Llewellyn doesn't go, and he does not. He's ranked 152 actually, so he wasn't really close. I like Bo Stevens a lot though. If you do want to look at a guard later in the draft, I think this is a guy you can look at. Look at the grades. He's very, very good guard. Really good for Iowa this past year, and Iowa develops offensive linemen really well. But we are going to look to Iowa on the other side of the ball, kind of messing up our color scheme here, but at least he has some black to go with um, the South Carolina idea and the Arkansas idea. Ohio State has some too, but we're going to go with Max Llewellyn here to be our edge rusher at 143. And we have two more picks. I'm not going to move around the board anymore. Picking round 6 and round 7. Maybe I move around the board. I don't really like any option here, actually. So I kind of just, you know, did that to myself. But I think if you're at 185, I think you're looking at Caleb Elams, or I think you're looking at maybe Claiborne, even if you get Mike Washington Jr. just to compete. I like Kevin Coleman Jr. a lot. I go with him a lot. I like Charles Demings. I like Caleb Douglas. You have Tyler Onyedem here, who I think could be an interesting option if he hasn't gone yet. And he's down there at 244. Zane Durant's obviously intriguing. You could get a backup corner on Julian Neal. But yeah, I think I'm looking to move down here, to be honest. Maybe pick up a pick in the 7th and then next year. So we'll go Packers at 201 maybe. Something like that. Just some late round picks for next year. And here at 201, I like the idea of Owen Heineke here. We haven't gone with a linebacker yet. Best player available, you kind of just take him. And I think he is a very good player, especially against the run. Just a little undersized. But if you do need someone to give depth there, I think you could look to him. I think you could look to um, maybe Harold Perkins to be a project. I just don't know where you play him, really. Um, Red Murdoch, very good for Buffalo. Decent size as well. Sorry, I thought that said Buffalo Bills. I was kind of confused. But really good player. I think you could look to Leonard Barton down the board, Jimmy Rolder, Scooby Williams, Wade Woodaz. Um, just guys there. Xavier Sorey too, not a bad player, just doesn't have the production you're really looking for. Jack Kelly, I haven't really looked much into, but I think he's more of a better pass rush guy than a traditional linebacker. Eric Gentry is always just going to be intriguing because of the size project, 6'7", 250, 225. Sorry, I thought he was a lot bigger than that. Um, but you know, Owen Heineke is definitely the best player available. I think you could use him as a backup linebacker, special teams guy. Maybe Xander Durant, just because of how good of an athlete he is. And you know what? I talked myself into it. I'm going Xander Durant here, and we'll go with a linebacker at 243. Because I don't think you're looking for anything too crazy from a linebacker. I think you're just looking for a guy who can come in and play a role. And we'll do that with. We went with Jimmy Rolder last time. We'll go with Scooby Williams this time. I think he's a very intriguing linebacker. He's very good in coverage. So we'll see what he has to offer for the Texans at 243, and that will round out our draft. See what we grade out at. I think trading around the board is something the Texans will certainly try to do. Caden McDonald an A, Caleb Lomu a B plus, Mike Washington a B, Connor Lew B minus, Anthony Hill C minus, Sam Roush B C plus, Kilgore C, Llewellyn C, Xander A minus, and Scooby Williams C plus. Overall A B plus. And you can see we moved up once, but then moved down every single other time. And the biggest haul we got, I believe, is probably this one where we get 4th round pick for next year, 3rd round pick, 5th round pick, 2nd round pick. Maybe this one getting 3rd round pick in 2027 or 2/5 in 2027. This one you get it a 6th in 2027, 6th in 2027, 7th in 2027. So you can see how much of an emphasis I want to put on next year's draft just because of how good it is. Doesn't mean it should stop you from trying to go get your guys, but um, you know, given the options around our range, you had maybe Caden Proctor, maybe Omar Cooper, maybe TJ Parker, to be honest, but I do think the draft went really well. You get Caden McDonald in the second on top of a developmental either guard or tackle in Caleb Lomu, potential starter in Lou, home run hitter and running back in Mike Washington Jr., rotational linebacker in Anthony Hill, tight end 2 in Roush, rotational defensive back and edge in Llewellyn and Kilgore, rotational D lineman in Durant, and then a potential special teams guy or more coverage at linebacker with Scooby Williams. So, yeah, that is everything. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did enjoy, please be sure to like, subscribe, and as always, it's Texas Takeover. I'm out. Peace.